with their problem intervention. There's none out there. They'll say, hey, well, tell them to go to Narcotics Anonymous or something. This is what they're telling people. Do they know how destructive this stuff is to families and to people? The horrible, horrendous things people do. I mean, I'll never forget one incident that seared my mind. This guy, he cut the head off his 14-year-old son because he lost it while he was doing meth. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going on, and people's health is destroyed in very short order. Forget cigarette smoking. So they used to run these before and after pictures of people before they got into meth and after, and they stopped doing that. You wonder why they, do they really want people off drugs, or do they like this? It contributes to the chaos, to the disempowerment, to the confusion and ignorance of the masses, and just, make everything overwhelming and unfixable out there in our society. I just wonder. I mean, I'm just telling you, we're a messed up breed, man. And we need God's help. We absolutely, there's no equivocation. We need God's help. I guess I'm done with current recent events. About all I really wanted to talk about. I didn't write everything down, but I get to the stuff that that I think of at the time that I want to comment on. Okay, I'm on to some thoughts from the last week or two. This is where I ended up last week. Though a lion lives approximately twice as long in captivity, in the case of nearly every big cat paradigm, they would trade those 5 years because a big cat in captivity lives about 10 years, and they live about 5 years in the wild. They would trade that 5 years for their freedom and their independence. But humans are not so different from other great creatures. We want to be free at any and all costs. Free from the money masters of misery, my friends. Have you ever imagined the implications of rendering the money printing mafia called the Federal Reserve irrelevant? What will these workers of iniquity do when their livelihood, their existence, their bread and butter is abolished? For one thing, they'll all fight like hell to the point of death to prevent their extinction. And they'll pull out all the stops. Nothing will be off the table to prevent their demise. But their ilk have been a cancerous thorn in the flesh of God and man for a long, long time, and absolutely must be dismantled. Does anyone think money, love, isn't serious business? These are those written about, those whom traffic in the souls of men. That's right. They know they appeal to an irresistible temptation to love money, to really love the power, the control, the freedom, the security that comes with money. And people, they fall into temptation. They can't resist it. So they're working with a rigged deck, with a stacked deck, with a marked deck of cards. Okay, and again, we're in a lot of trouble, folks, and it's gonna take God's help. So pray like crazy, man. Pray hard that God's gonna help us through this, because we're messed up, man, and it's gonna take one hell of a knock on the head of humanity to really wake us up, man, from, what the hell it's going to take to extricate ourselves from the jaws, the maws of these monsters, man, that are running this scene. But don't let fighting the good fight, make you nuts, because that's the temptation. It makes the good, the righteous, the decent people crazy. I've been watching this thing unfold for a long time. And I'm as sure as the day is long that the system is corrupt up one side, down the other, and to the nth degree. And it keeps going in the wrong direction. And Trump has not successfully been able to turn the ship around yet. I need an appreciable amount of time to see cost of living deflation before I'm convinced. And that includes taxes. paid to the government or to private entities. If you can't get away from it, you can't get away from it. It's mandated. In order for you to keep existing, to keep living, to keep surviving, if it's something you got to pay, then it's a duck. It walks like a duck and quacks like a duck. For all intents and purposes, it's a duck. It's a tax. That's my complaint. I don't care about luxury items, gadgets, or knickknacks, okay? The free market is forced on those items because nobody needs them. Monopolies are a problem, and collusive special interest groups are a problem, yeah. It's still a problem when it comes to any commodities out there. And the unions, they try to do that, with their services. Whatever service I provide, I'm special because I have a union, because I say so. Even though everybody wants your job and they're willing to do it for half as much, still you find a way about, a roundabout, a loophole, somehow that you're able, through threats, and you can call them scabs. You intimidate any workers that try to break the strike lines. You got to care about all the workers. You can't just say it's all about my job being so important, because the fact is the world will go on just about like it is if any of us stop doing our job tomorrow. Okay, if you fall off the face of the earth tomorrow, society is pretty much going to go on just about like it is. Okay, we all know that. So why pretend otherwise? You're just lying to yourself. Who are you if you're just going to lie to yourself? You're not so important that the world can't live without you. Nobody is. No man is. We need God. Above all, we need God. Nobody can save your life. Nobody can save my life. I need God. We need God. You need God. Ever notice certain special interest groups, mainstream media, Chamber of Communists, local politicos and such, never talk about the $50 billion annually that the taxpayers pay to Section 8 to prevent homelessness, yet the problem has only worsened during the time they've been giving this $50 billion a year. I've noticed. But see, they don't want you empowered with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to know how outrageous this is, that we got to worry about this homelessness on a local level, yet the federal government's forking out all this money, and the problem on the local level just gets worse and worse and worse, and housing prices just keep getting less and less affordable. How in the hell is that good? How are high housing costs good? Yet that's exactly what they've convinced, the mainstream media has convinced people. They've convinced even Alex Jones with his intellectual prowess that that's good. My God, what hope is there for us? We're done. We're cooked. It's over, man. America is no more. The capitalism hasn't existed for 55 years since they murdered JFK. We at Federal Reserve had a coup. They took over. And all the only political sycophants that survive are those that go along with this program, that legitimize it and validate it, authorize it. God, we're in so much trouble because of cowardice, because people are afraid. They say, well, at least I'm okay, me and my family, and I can't worry. You're all on your own now. There's no rules, no regulations. I guess just jump on one of the evil bandwagons and become one of us evildoers and abandon your stupid conscience. It's not going to pay your bills. That's the mentality in the land. I mean, we are screwed up, man. We're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. We're in it deep. And it's going to take really taking this bull by the horns, and if it crashes against the wall and kills us, so be it, man. We've got to, for our generation, any hope for this generation to recover, any hope for the future generations. We've got to get it, man. Stop being small-minded, short-sighted, narrow-minded. Okay? It's just putting a Band-Aid on things that you know are going to get worse and worse. It's like saying, no, don't let the pimple erupt. Don't let it. No, just keep suppressing it. Keep suppressing it. I don't know when. Just keep suppressing it. It's the only trajectory we know. Keep raising your cost of living tax. Keep debasing your currency. It's all we know. It's what you see. That's all that's going around. The only solution out there is your cost of living tax just keeps going up. That's all we're doing to this day. It's the only answer. I have discovered that not only am I in awe and reverence toward our owner, God Almighty, the Almighty Creator God, as defined in Scripture, I also behold to a similar acute reverence for the female of our species. unequivocally the most powerful, life-giving gender. They are. They are just absolutely incredible creatures. I'm so glad I was born a man so I could enjoy a woman. So glad. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful, beautiful thing that God did, making us male and female. If I were to be appointed to head up the Department of Labor, the first thing I'd do is to find the right man/woman for the job of public relations, and bringing to light the deliberate lack of adherence to any semblance of holding wages commensurate with the true CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the cost of living, in what amounts to a little come-to-Jesus moment for the entire nation. The honest discussion must be had. Absolutely, we must talk about these things. If we don't discuss these things, they're never going to get addressed. They're never going to get confronted, and they're never going to get fixed. We're never going to be able to extricate ourselves from these problems unless we confront them. It's that simple. It's just like your car. If it's broken, believe me, it's not going to fix itself. You've got to take it to somebody. You've got to confront it. You've got to address the problem. Okay? And that's what we've got to do to fix our country, and by extension, the rest of the world. Only when I am certain the maggot-infested worm has finally turned will I let down my guard and shut the hell up. That's right. When I hear somebody else talking the way I do and pointing out the things I do in as succinct and clear a manner as I can, so it's child's play. A child can understand the stuff I'm saying, the why and the wherefore. We define progress, social, political, and economic progress by X, not by Y, the lie. No. If the mainstream media caught Trump walking on water or raising the dead, they'd simply say, Trump is showing off, and he's polluting the lakes with his shoe heels, and he won't let the dead rest in peace. What an a-hole. Impeach him. He's a Russian agent. Right? Am I right? After long scientific and logical consideration, one must conclude that there is a cosmic, all-powerful, supernatural power involved in the universe, and the very existence of all life, even all matter. Gotta be, folks. It's only logical. It's only scientific. It's only reasonable. There's a God. There's a designer. There's a force. There's a higher power. Who would believe that 1/1000th of 1% could be a critical mass? Nevertheless, that is a fact. Consider how roundly, how profoundly our reality has been and continues to be affected by a handful of thieves. We all must walk around with a pocketful or purseful of keys. Now consider the fact that a tiny minority, a minuscule fraction of a percent, is the critical mass steering the inhabitants of the planet, and how that affects our reality far more profoundly than the earlier example of thieves. This tiny fraction consists of bloodthirsty, merciless murderers, liars, cheaters, apparently conscienceless thugs, creating the policies we all must abide by, yet they exempt themselves from. That's right. That's one little example of how a tiny fraction of a percentage of people can affect our reality in very profound ways. Just consider that fact. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. That's not speculation on my part. Because one out of 10,000 people, 1,000, even 1,000 people would dare steal anything from you. We all have to carry keys and lock. We have to get locks. And how much money is spent? How much of our time is spent? Okay? How freaky is it when you lose your keys? Okay? Or lock them in your car? I mean, and this is all because there's a few thieves out there. And this is just one example of countless examples of how tiny percentages of people, bad actors in the world, affect your reality. That's why I talk about this basic income, prevent desperate poverty, nip it at the bud. And I'm a radical, I'm a leftist, I'm a socialist, I'm a communist. It's so stupid. No, I'm a fiscal conservative. You'll have dramatically lower taxes. I guarantee it. I'll do the math with you. I'll show you how crime would